I'm the Reverend Dr. Jenny McKay, veterinarian, associate minister, and a minister in secular employment. I'm also an environmentalist, an activist, and a self-confessed cat junkie. But believe it or not, I've never owned a dog who gets recognized by Hollywood A-list actors. Someone who does is my guest, Anna Webb. So, Anna, tell me about your gorgeous English toy terrier, Mr. Binks, and his meeting with Johnny Depp in Soho.
Okay. Oh, Jenny, thank you for inviting me on your brilliant podcast. Right. So the thing was, Mr. Binks wasn't actually there. And what happened was, it was... I can't still believe it really, but it is true that Johnny Depp recognized my voice. He actually listens to Radio London and the Parking Hour. And it was an extraordinary encounter where clearly I wasn't expecting to bump into Johnny Depp. And he... Suddenly, this man had come in where I was in Soho. I saw a man coming in, you don't think anything of it. I'm waiting for my coat. It was only 6:30 in the evening. And suddenly, I hear this male voice go, Anna. And I turn around and I see what I considered a very cool rock and roll guy, but I didn't go, oh my God, it's Johnny Depp. And I went, yes. And, and he said, you are Anna from the Barking Hour. So then I go, oh gosh, a real listener. And oh gosh, and then and basically it was the following day that I realized that I had actually been speaking to Johnny Depp. But he was in disguise. He didn't look like Johnny from the Pirates of the Caribbean. He was, I thought he was a really smart, interesting, very cool, advertising executive or, whatever. So he had this big hat on and these glasses and a briefcase and a big overcoat because it was the end of February 2020 this happened.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So it was cold, so he was like with a big overcoat. And then, but at one point, because he says, oh, do say hello to Joe. I love listening to the Barking Hour, he says, and to Joe's show. Please be sure to say hello from me, see? So I'm like, of course. And then I think, oh, I don't know your name. So I went, oh, what's your name? Jenny, can you believe
Johnny
it?
Depp?
Well, he just said Johnny, didn't he? So I just went, oh, Johnny, look, thanks, brilliant. Keep listening. Have a great evening. Oh, don't. So anyway, yes, actually, I know, which is extraordinary. But Mr. Binks obviously would probably have realised I was in the presence of greatness, even when I saw his overcoat rode up over his hands at one point, and I did see these rings. And at this point, I'm like thinking, hang on a minute. He's not a normal person. And because the rings are impressive, and it was at that moment I thought, oh gosh, am I missing something here? When you just think you might, something hasn't quite, the penny hasn't dropped.
Who is this person? But like you say, he wears a lot of jewelry in those films, doesn't he? But obviously, if you couldn't see the face properly.
Exactly. And big overcoat, with long sleeves and so on. So no, but anyway, so that was so it is quite extraordinary. Johnny Depp listens to the Dog Slot on Radio London. Who knew?
Good.
There we go. Yeah, there we go.
Can you get him to listen to my podcast, Anna?
I think that's what I said to him that evening. So I was about to launch A Dog's Life because it launched at that Crufts basically the following week. So I went, oh, Johnny, look, I'm just launching a podcast called A Dog's Life, assuming he was, a listener, please subscribe, and he was nodding, going, yeah, like this, and, oh God, just unbelievable. Anyway, but wonderful. I will. Yes, wonderful. What
an experience. What an experience. But anyway, Mr. Binks is recognised anyway, isn't he, in London?
Yes,
The
yes.
general public, you will have some people who recognise him, won't you?
Yes. He's had quite a few outings, on the BBC Piazza when we aired for many years. Every afternoon in the summer, we would air the radio show from the actual Piazza where the One show is filmed. So get lots of people up. It was brilliant, and we're hoping to do it again as the weather gets better now, because we're airing in the daytime again. So obviously at night it's a bit difficult,
it's a bit chilly,
a bit dark. So so he's done that, and he's done a few TV things, haven't you, Bing?
Oh, he's wandering around. Yeah, the listeners can't see him, but he's around.
He is around.
Anna, so tell me a little bit about yourself and your career, because obviously you're a broadcaster and you're also a behavior expert, and you know all about pet nutrition as well.
Yes. Gosh, well, everything's evolved really since I was a child, being surrounded by dogs and lots of other animals, because my dad was a massive animal lover. And I think it just came with the territory of our family. And, I grew up in sunny Shropshire, and everyone just had dogs and horses, and I learnt to ride. Gosh, when I was tiny, it was just mandatory to learn to ride, and Dad would take me for my riding lessons and so on and so forth, and so animals very much featured in our home, as Dad was high up at the RSPCA as well. So I learnt about a lot of animal cruelty and neglect at a very young age, which I don't think it's totally normal, perhaps. So it really set the bar,
scene,
Exactly. And I learned a lot about dogs from my dad, and just from being around them. And, I've always had a massive affinity to dogs and a great interest, Remember, I grew up before the internet was invented. So going to Crufts every year with my auntie was like, oh, amazing. The main thing I did every year, I could name I still can name pretty much every dog breed. I was obsessed with every school project, art, creative writing, whatever. Dogs. So, I was grooming this very famous dog lady. I mean, she's passed now, Anne Wynyard, which any older dog aficionados will remember. I would groom her Tibetan Spaniels before they went in the show ring when I was 8.
Oh, thrilling at that age. Yes.
Well, yes. I mean, how brilliant for a child, because without any, of these modern gadgets around, dogs were my thing, and I was very lucky to be able to hang around them and go to gymkhanas and enter fun dog shows. They existed way back then as well, and get rosettes. I loved rosettes. That's not changed. So, so that set the scene. And then, I sort of just went off into the media really after going to Oxford Poly, and I studied psychology, and I never really wanted to do psychology in terms of analysing humans or anything like that, or follow that route. It was more to use it, from a media perspective, and to have a degree, really. But certainly, all the behavioural psychology I learned, Skinner and Pavlov and everybody, classical, opera and conditioning, I loved all of that. But I wouldn't do experiments on any animals, actually, and others did, on rats. I mean, not nasty experiments, but I just thought, hang on, just for my degree, I'm not going to, so I've always been on that side of the fence, obviously. And then, it was, so then I was doing things like launching Medical Detection Dogs, the charity that was then called Cancer and Biodetection Dogs. And, chance encounter, bumped into Joanne Good, and we put together a documentary called Fur Kids, and that aired on the BBC. And it was massive. And then the dog slot started, in January 2010. I mean, it has been going
I was going to
that
say
long.
that
I mean,
long.
she's extraordinary. It is an anomaly, really. There's nothing else
Yeah.
quite like it.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
it's quite, it's something to be proud of.
Absolutely. It's very,
And
very different, isn't it? Yeah.
yeah, no, absolutely. And then I just immersed myself in study with the College of Integrated Veterinary Therapies around about 2012. So that was a 3-year study. It was really intense, brilliant, absolutely brilliant. So, learning about all the, well, that's nutrition. So that's why I'm a qualified nutritionist. But beyond that, sort of, I suppose you'd call it wellness, really, understanding a bit more. I know you're a vet, Jenny. So, but, vets don't explain to clients in plain English, shall we say, if you have too many general anesthetics, it might not be the best thing for your dog to have. For example, they don't mention oxidative stress. So, I'm able to explain oxidative stress to people, for example, and help with physiotherapy. I'm really into homeopathy, red light therapy, all of the alternative modalities, really, to keep your best friend in the best health for as long as possible.
Yes.
And, certainly, of course, nutrition plays a major role in that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's evolved, hasn't it? So
It's evolved.
there's that background of animals from a very, very young age. And then, developing in the psychology side of things and nutrition.
Yes. And as I say, the homeopathy, because you see, my journey with Molly, my first miniature bull terrier, that's what started it all, because she had an adverse reaction to a blast of vaccinations given erroneously, as the vet in question did not recognize her titer test. But this was 2010, when, the WSAVA, the World Small Animal Health Association, only launched their first research in 2007 rather. So this was all very new, and it still is. In a way, it's still new. And these are things I like to discuss actually on my podcast. But probably people are thinking, oh no, that's really boring. I wonder if Johnny Depp would like to listen to titer testing. Can you imagine? You're like, right, I thought this was going to be an interesting listen. No, but I think it is an interesting listen.
Yeah.
And so anyway, it was moles anyway that took me on this whole journey. That's why I did all my study, which, it was a considerable investment, but I knew she wasn't well. She had got suspected bladder cancer as a result of all of this. And I had to just turn her around. And I knew the answer wasn't just with a small bottle of non-steroidal inflammatories. There was going to need a lot more than that. And I kept her alive thereafter for 5 more years.
Oh, yeah.
Which is very good.
It's very, very good, isn't it?
Yeah. So anyway, that's...
But I know it is very, very interesting. And you have so many interesting people on your podcasts. And I'm just thinking back, and I know you've mentioned this to me previously, your interview really, really stood out for you, I think, in 2020 with Rupert Sheldrake. Yes. The author of, for our listeners who don't know, the book is Dogs That Know When Their Owners Are Coming Home. And you were discussing the idea of this telepathy or sixth sense between animals, particularly dogs, and their owners. So can you tell me of any instances where you've seen this with your pets?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Well, the thing is with Rupert, it was this lovely man that co-founded Medical Detection Dogs that once said to me, so we're talking 2008, Anna, you must have read Sheldrake. And I said, gosh, no, I haven't, obviously I will, So quickly got home and Googled and got Dogs That Know When Their Owners Are Coming Home. And I was sort of vindicated in this book because at that time, Jenny, 2008, it was a mixed vibe going on with dog trainers still. Right. That like lots of dog owners were a bit, only operant. It's like, is there any emotional intelligence there? Yeah. It's very new that we've actually proved that there is. And lots of dog trainers, and I'd have arguments about this because I'd be, I know what I know what she's thinking, which can be seen as projecting your human emotions onto the dog, and so, but I just felt there was this much more between Molly and I. And anyway, so read the book, absolutely, like, oh gosh, amazing. Reach out to Rupert and he comes on the radio show. Oh, and I've just been so impressed by his kind of, I suppose, subversive science, because he is a Cambridge Don. I mean, he is a top, you know, and it was his interest in animals, you know, as a child, and homing pigeons in particular. Like, how do the pigeons find their way home? No one actually to this day really knows, and there's various hypotheses. Rupert has one of these, and I was just fascinated by all of this. Fascinated, because I was always sure I was almost having a two-way conversation with Molly. You know, and then we were in, gosh, we were in Devon, and this was when sat navs were still quite new and everything. And you know, anyway, we got to sort of the edge of the moors, and the sat nav said continue forward for 7 miles. I'll never forget. It was pitch black. It was November, and then I lost all signal of the sat nav, of my phone, and everything. And we're driving along and it's pitch dark, Jenny, and it's like fog. It's really hounding the Baskervilles going. Scary. So scary. Honestly, you know, and then Moles is on the Mini with a front seat with her seatbelt and everything. And she used to sit bolt upright. She had a very straight back. And she was sat bolt upright in her fluorescent fleece, you know, driving outfit. And she's looking out the one, I'm in a Mini, you get the picture, and a bolt, and then she's looking out of the passenger window. And she's looking back at me, there's a bull terrier there. And then she's looking out the passenger window again, and then looking back at me. And then I'm just like going, and then I just say out loud, I know, Molly, we're lost. Like,
she was saying that to you, wasn't she? She was wondering why her mummy was driving in this
like, exactly. Oh, and then I know, and then she starts looking in the rear, you know, the rear window, like turning around, looking backwards, looking at me. And I go, yeah, I get it. And I did a U-turn in this scary slope by a country gate, and then did a UE, but luckily in the Mini, you know, it's designed for doing
you can do a very quick turn. But
and then we found a pub, and it's ridiculous, where I was able to use the landline, and the person I was going to go and visit had to come and pick us up. I mean, you can't make it up. So that was the first time I actually thought, crikey, we have just had a two-way conversation. And then I can't remember if I'd read Rupert before that or after, but then, oh God, over the years, Jenny, so much. I mean, particularly interestingly with my cat Gremlin. I know you love cats.
I was going to say, have you got any cat experiences?
Yes. All the time, all the time. When I want him to come in, I never, you know, because he's trained to respond to when I flip the cat flap, you know, bang, 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 you know. But, you know, on instances when that hasn't worked or whatever, there was one New Year's Eve, he got out. And I was convinced he would be dead, and he didn't come home, and it was dreadful. And I got into almost like a frenzy about it, like, you know, really, it's hard to explain.
Very anxious. Yeah.
Well, deeper than anxious. It's almost, you know, lost it. Almost, I know the word. It's almost sort of, in a way, primeval. It's weird. It's like weird. And it's when I get to that point and I'm just thinking, Gremlin, come home, come in, he'll appear. And he did that night, you know, and
it's really, almost if he senses, doesn't it, that you're being pushed just too far with your worries.
Well, that's it, and that's Rupert's theory. Really, it's about picking up on intentions, which is telepathy. And you know, he's done so many studies over the years, and one was about using dogs to respond in a way to signal that they were aware that their owners had picked their bag up in the office and they were coming home at a random time that, you know, wasn't planned, that they didn't even know when they were supposed to. It was all, they got a beep on a beeper, and that was it. They had to just leave. So it was randomized and scientifically correlated and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
So, so it's very interesting. Yeah,
And
and all about
people say that cats, you can't really bond with cats, but you can as a
oh
cat owner, and the emotions that they show. I always remember one of my cats. I'd bought this toothpaste, fatty toothpaste, and you're supposed to just put it on their paw and then they lick it off and it cleans their teeth. And I
okay.
managed to squirt this on the paw, and this cat, it just happened to look at its paw, and honestly, I could see the thought going through its face. What is this? What is this unidentified blob in my foot? And it was a look of surprise. So a couple of vicars who will remain nameless have told me that pets don't have the same emotions as humans, but I strongly disagree with that.
Well, Jenny, I think science has proved that they do. I don't think it's questionable anymore. MRI scans, because we've been able to train animals to go in not having a general anesthetic and see their brain patterns. And, it's as simple as that now, really.
That's right. Yeah. And even invertebrates as well. They've done a lot of testing on them, these poor
really
octopi that people love to eat as a luxury, but they're very, very intelligent.
No, it's true. It's actually true with octopi, actually, and crabs and things. I mean, oh dear, yeah, it's a big subject, all that.
It is. Which we could do a full other podcast on that one, couldn't we?
We could, Jenny. Yes. So sorry, I've probably gone off the list of questions here. I'm really sorry. Oh.
That's absolutely fine. The other aspect, again, which I probably agree with you, is there are no bad dogs. It's the owner.
Well, yeah, I mean,
in a lot of cases, yes.
Yes, and we are living in a strange time where recently I've actually said, that the face of dog ownership has changed beyond recognition now. And it is a terrible shame, not only for the dogs, but for the people, because they're not getting out of their relationship with the dog that really they could get, and dogs don't live long enough. And I just feel they're not getting it. A lot of people don't walk them enough. They don't groom them. They don't brush their dog's teeth. All these things that back in the day we all did. And that wasn't that so long ago, I mean, I know some dogs, do require more grooming expertise than other breeds, sure, but it's, I don't want to go into one of my rants on it. I just feel.
But after COVID as well, I mean, people were just buying dogs to kind of amuse themselves, weren't
they? Exactly. I mean, this is it. Exactly.
Not fair.
No, I don't think I had any idea of the commitment that was about to ensue. I mean, when I brought Molly into my life, I was 37. After a panic attack going up to Yorkshire on the train that day, my life's going to change. That's it. Probably if you're about to have a baby, you might think the same thing. I remember having such a, gosh, no more lions ever. All these things go through. And, and it's true. It totally did change my life completely. In
a very good way.
Oh gosh,
unbelievable way. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll never forget that journey home with little Mole's character. I was so proud of her. This was my puppy. And I was showing her to people on the train. Look.
Everybody would be fussing at her, I'm sure.
No, absolutely. They're very funny puppy bull terriers. They're like, tiny piglets that are dogs.
They're
very, very, very cute. Yes, but Jenny, I mean, it's so true, isn't it? I think, I mean, whether the dog license gets reintroduced is something that is being discussed.
It is. But people have to, I agree. They often don't understand the commitment of having a pet.
Exactly. And a cat might suit some people better, as they, you don't have to walk a cat every day. That's the main difference, really, apart from that.
It is very independent.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Now, one of the really great podcasts, of course, is A Dog's Life. So what was the reason that you started Dog's Life? Yeah. In the
Yeah, it was
beginning.
just really, well, 'cause podcasts were kind of really happening, actually. I mean, I think, we launched in March 2020, a week after I bumped into Johnny Depp. and, uh, and yeah, the whole purpose of it was just really to make sense of my massive interest in dogs. I mean, like dogs in art. It's really to help people navigate living with dogs in a modern world, understand what a dog is and its utter greatness. From speaking to Rupert about the, telepathic communication and social bonds that exist in an energetic way, through to, talking about diet. Of course, it's something that is very, 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 important to me. And talking to experts and vets and sort of everybody, I mean, one of my most recent podcasts is with Dr. Jean Dodds, who is a vet, Jenny. You'll know Dr. Jean, and such an honor to talk to her. And she helped me a lot with Molly and helped me learn a lot for my course, which of course, I like, to spread the word, really, because it's thanks to Dr. Jean and other scientists of her era that, we've been vets, she's a vet and a scientist, we are working out some change for the better, I think, really. And, nothing needs to stay still in life. I mean, particularly with the field of nutrition. I'm sorry if you can hear Prudence chomping on her. Sorry about that. She is chewing on a yak chew. Is it? I've just realised it might be coming down. I'm so sorry. Is this all right?
I don't think we hear it.
You don't hear it? Okay.
No.
It just sounded quite loud to me for a minute. But that is what it is. It's not me making odd sounds. My cats
will probably appear in a minute anyway.
Oh, no, good. No, we love cats. I mean, so the podcast is basically, drawing from my own journey with dogs as a child, onwards to a grown up, and living in London, before dog friendly became a thing, back in 2002. And when I got moles, nowhere was dog friendly. It was quite the opposite. I mean, there weren't any professional dog walkers either, funnily enough. And the dog population was much, much smaller. But and then navigating London, going on buses, the whole works with moles, you see. So it was a massive baptism of fire, and took me back to, because it was just after my dad died that I brought Molly in. So it was like the journey back through my childhood, and all of this anyway is sort of in the podcast, not at all in a saccharine way, but it's just a helpful podcast on so many levels. Of course we touch on behavior and training, but it's, but we also have some celebrity interviews, but also it does have quite a, cerebral, I suppose, meaty aspect to it. So which I hope you like, Jenny,
absolutely. But are there any dream guests you would like to have?
Well, apart from Johnny Depp.
Yeah. I'm sure that will happen.
Oh, God. Oh gosh. I mean, Dr. Jean was one, actually, and obviously Rupert. So yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Dream guest. Gosh, well, oh gosh, all right. I'll fess up.
Did you ever interview the super vet, Noel Fitzpatrick?
No, I haven't actually. No. Have you?
No. He was a year ahead of me in vet school in Dublin, actually. So I know what he was like when he was a young student. Yeah.
Oh, no, gosh, no, interesting. Yeah, no, I haven't, to be fair. I mean, you've got to remember, Jenny, that with me, I'm a bit on the alternative subversive front. So I've only talked to one conventional vet, actually. All the other vets, are holistic, or in the likes of, Dr. Jean, Dr. Karen Becker, Dr. Nick Thompson, Dr. Lise Hansen, Andrew Prentice, probably some others I can't think of off the top of my head. Because that's the area I really feel, offers so much scope, particularly for longevity,
Yes.
and kindness. And it's also, homeopathy has been around for longer than modern medicine. I know you are a vet, Jenny, so please don't shoot me. So, and I've seen it work. So it's like, it's having an open mind. It's, yeah, so that's really where it's at. But yes, I'll tell you who I'd love to interview, and I'm hoping to make this happen. I really am hoping. It is Debbie Harry, and there are a couple of opportunities possible. She is in the UK, and I'm going to be where she is for 2 occasions coming up soon.
Excellent.
I know I need to. I mean, who knows? I mean, that animals have played a huge part in her life.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that.
Yeah. Yeah, especially, cats.
Dogs.
Actually.
It's a cat.
Both. Mad about dogs. Yes. But no, I won't give any spoilers away. That is going
to be an interesting podcast. Yes. Don't give it away. But yeah, that is one definitely for us to look out for. So really, something I get asked about a lot at the moment is, I want to get a dog and I want to get a purebred, but we know at the moment after COVID and stuff, there are a lot of rescue dogs out there. Have you got any advice, or what's your view on that when you're looking for a new companion, I suppose?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think it's brilliant. Adopting is a fantastically super altruistic thing to do. And I think, generally speaking, to adopt from a recognised welfare, rescue, the dog does become assessed to a certain degree, and the dog, is probably fully grown, so it's not a cute puppy, because I think a lot of people fall for the cute puppy, so they can see this is how big it is, and I think it depends. Every dog's an individual and every rescue's an individual, but they can be, more difficult, and you have to be prepared to invest the time to rehabilitate a rescue. Because Mr. Binks, for example, he's a rehome, so he didn't come from, the RSPCA or anything, and it took ages and ages to build his confidence up, and so people have to be ready and prepared for that. That's what I would say, but equally, some of the rescues recently have been criticised for being too strict and in a way prohibiting people taking dogs on. I know that, obviously they don't want them back or any accidents to happen. So a lot of people are bringing dogs in still from overseas, which is great. But dogs from Romania some come with some big issues to deal with. And unless you have the skill set and the experience, this is the big thing. I think partly social media, is to blame here, Jenny, that it makes dog ownership, or makes anything in life, whether you're baking a cake or anything, look absolutely lovely. And the first time you bake this cake, it's going to look like this, and it doesn't work like that in real life.
No.
And I think that's why we saw such a surge of ownership through the actual pandemic. And now, of course, the abandonment. But it's worse that people have been selling dogs on dog websites, Jenny.
Yes, and they just shouldn't have been. This was just a quick win for them, wasn't it? Get those puppies out. Yeah, dreadful.
And then these websites that now, are allowed, some bans are trying to be in place on various sites, but so it's
you must go to a reputable breeder for a start, wasn't you?
Yes. Yeah. The Kennel Club Assured Breeders Scheme, and all the breeds have rescue organizations. So, if a pug is what you really, really want, and that's the breed for you, there are rescue pugs.
Places to go, aren't there?
Yeah. And so you can adopt a pug, and I think people don't realize that you can also get a breed.
Yes, that's important, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's not just the muggies and mongrels.
No.
You can.
No,
You're right. Rescued rescued special breeds
breed
as well.
rescues.
Breed
Yes.
rescue.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, it is a bit messed up out there, I think, and it is a shame. But we'll see. Man's best friend is infinitely adaptable. Let's see.
Absolutely.
If
he's got to be with all the humans and their strange characteristics.
Yes, that's it, really. I mean, what I think is that oftentimes it's, you know, myself included, is that the human can be an emotional contagion to the dogs. I think humans actually create a lot of anxiety in their dogs.
In their dogs. Yeah.
You know, because dogs smell cortisol and then get confused as to this particular smell. Why is that racing this morning? We've only just, you know.
Yes, they pick up on it.
They pick up on
Yeah.
all of this. I mean, that's how super intuitive they really are, you know.
Wow, amazing. Well, we've covered a lot of topics here, Anna, and wonderful to speak to you. So what next?
What next? Gosh, well, hopefully more of everything, really, helping people with their dogs. I'm seeing a 10-month-old Labrador in the morning. So, and talking about dogs and, you know, commenting. I think, you know, it's important to have a realistic, you know, viewpoint sometimes that comes from, you know, back in the day a bit, really, sometimes as well, as a leveler on things. But yes, hopefully, you know, just health and happiness, really.
Yes,
Jenny.
That's what we need. That's the main thing, isn't it?
It is health and happiness and our animals. But gosh, thank you so much for inviting me on. And
lovely to talk to you. And I'm sure the listeners will have enjoyed this. So
well, I do hope so. And yes, check out A Dog's Life if
absolutely. So take care. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jenny.
Bye.
Bye-bye.